Hello, everybody. This is an opening talk for the Qualia Structure project and also publicly offered research today. And my name is now Tsuchiya, and I'm going to give an overview of the publicly offered research and the project itself. So this is the member of the Qualia Structure project. And it is composed of 6 groups from different background, and one is mathematics and psychophysics, myself and Hayato, Steve, and Michiko. And then A2 is phenomenology philosophy, Shigeru and Yuko. And then the third one is a development team, Yusuke and Tamami. And then B team is composed of I and Makiko working on the neuroimaging and neuromodulation. And then C group, first one is information structure headed by Masafumi and also Takato. And then finally, symbol emergent system constructivist approach is conducted by Tadahiro and also Nobuo Saji. So this is a very interdisciplinary group of the people, and then we are trying to reveal the structure of the Qualia over the next 5 years. So the pillar of our approach is following. One is that we try to arrive at the novel ways to understand others' mind. That's the biggest goal. And then towards that end, we will advocate the structure approaches to Qualia. And this is a novel approach compared to the other existing one. And with the structure approaches, we will internationally lead the next generation consciousness research. That's the goal. So just to give a bit of the background, sort of the introduction to each individual kobohan or publicly offered research. The first one is addressing the mathematical or philosophical basis of the Qualia structure approach per se. So this is mostly related to mathematics and psychophysics approach and also philosophy approach. The approach by Masanao is going to be the quantum instrument approach methods. And also Daichi Suzuki is going to work on the evolutionary approach to the Qualia structure. And then second one is about the so-called horizontal alignment. What we call is horizontal alignment. It's mainly focusing on the psychophysical or interpersonal Qualia structure correspondence. So this side, focusing on the human, is going to be the part of the psychophysical approach, and most likely it's related to Eiko here today, and also Keisuke and Tatsuya and Kosuke, Tetsuto and Hirokazu, and also Isamu. And we are going to work on both vision and also audition, music, kind of Qualia as well. And a complement to that is another horizontal alignment, which is the brain basis structure. And this is done by Takeshi today, and also Chihiro, Hideyuki, and Noriyuki, Hirokazu, and Nana as well. And so mainly this is animal model, but also sometimes in human as well. And then another quite important approach is the vertical alignment or intermodal or inter kind of animal or existence kind of alignment. And that's today's first speaker, Takeshi, is going to talk about this AI Qualia, and then also Muneki is going to talk about the C elegans and the Qualia structure as well. And then the last but not least is the temporal alignment of the Qualia structure. So this is the development and also its associated culture and also communication aspect of the Qualia. And so it's going to do the neuroimaging of the infants and their Qualia structure. And then also Kazuo are going to study the structure of the communication in the songbirds. And so Tomoya is going to use the AI to model the language emergence across the AI artificial systems. So that's all of the Kobohan or publicly offered research projects. And before moving further, I just wanted to remind you that we have a small rule within this, grant project meeting. We try not to use term sensei or professor in this project, and then this is a reason. There's a reason to that. We want to facilitate the discussion and argument, so don't use this kind of term, even though it may be difficult for the Japanese people. And calling others by first name is probably best, but maybe last name plus san, like Ikegami-san is also fine. And then, so during today's meeting and also the following Zoom session, we can have discussions and arguments. The idea or sort of the format of this is that 15-minute, initial 15-minute will be presentation of the project by each speaker, and then followed by 15-minute discussion and Q&A by each, the attendees. Then the special thanks to I and also Yusuke for organizing this series of the Zoom session meeting because it's quite difficult to organize all these temple timing across all the PIs. So thank you very much. And then maybe with the last few minutes, I just wanted to give you a little bit of the advertisement. So in this Qualia Structure, we will have the first summer school pretty much locked into June 17th to 28th this year. And it's going to be consisted of the 1 week of the lecture plus discussion session for the first week. And then the second week is going to be the project week. And of course, this year's attendees are all fixed, but next year's are open. And next round application will be open sometime this year, November. And we encourage people who are watching this to join. And some of the publicly offered research people, PI, might be also joining as well. I'll give you more information on Slack to you guys. So so far, is there any question? Also from Zoom or anything? Fine. And then if that's fine, then I want to.
Okay, so we will start the YouTube the meeting for Kobohan and the Qualia Structure of Takeshi Senkak A. So we have three speakers. We have three speakers today, and the first speaker is Ikegami-san. So can you start your talk?
Okay. Can I upload my keynote first? Right. Okay. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Takashi Ikegami. My honor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I'm Takashi Ikegami. I'm from the University of Tokyo. My background is complex system studies, and my major field is artificial life. So the purpose of artificial life is how to make actual living systems without using cells, DNAs, those biological materials. So here I put some different title, different from my Kakei title, but it's emerging spontaneity in Auto 3 empowered by a large language model. So I'm going to discuss, why I'm motivated to apply to this grant, and then what's my purpose, and then what I'm interested in. Okay. Basically, this one is thanks to Masumori Atsushi is my postdoc, and Takahide Yoshida is my master student. Now he's becoming a doctor of my lab. And those people, mainly these two people are helping me to do this experiment. First of all, what is necessary to make artificial life is because when I've been discussing with Rodney Brooks, he's Brooks, right? And Rod says, we are making a bunch of robots, but still the robot is not becoming life. And what's missing? And that we have been discussing a lot. Why it's missing is because why it's missing is because I think the big problem is maybe the computation power is not good enough, or maybe the model is not complex enough, or maybe billions of parameters that we have to set up, but the parameters are not adequately chosen. Or maybe we are missing a fundamental theory for living systems. That's one of the huge problem. But also we are expecting that this kind of a fundamental theory that we have to find out somewhere, right? So artificial life is about looking for the Brooks juice. The Brooks juice is the final ingredient that we have to put into the system so that the system becomes a living system. So Jason, is that okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm using this Android, right? This Android is controlled by compressed air, and then we have a 43 degrees of freedom. So each axis that is controlled by the computer with pushing air or absorbing air, and the degree of how much air that we have to put into each axis is from 0 to 255. That is controlling. Is usually controlled by ourselves, right? But one day that I thought maybe we can use a large language model to control this Android, which might be much easier and much interesting. So that I've been working with Yoshida-kun. He's a master student. Whether you can control Alta 3 by ChatGPT-4, and then he can make it. But one day he came to my office and said it worked, right? So this is one of the experiments that we did. We just said to Alta that pretend a ghost, right? When I do this, do you think can you still see my video?
It's not moving, but I can see the.
Okay, yeah, no, it's not moving, but
All right.
once I do this, it's moving.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So
bit.
maybe it's a little bit not a smooth movement, but this is something that we did. So we don't have to tell Android. We don't have to program it, but we just tell him what to do. But of course sometimes we can reinforcement is very effective, but even the reinforcement learning that we don't have to program it. We just tell him okay, why don't you just a little bit raise your hands or look up your head and all this kind of stuff. So it's a verbal controlling system, right? So this is a reversed version of playing the metal music. It's not a smooth movement. Maybe this one is better, I think.
Or maybe if it might work if you could close the background running application possibly. But yeah, that one works better. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one works better.
Yeah.
So this way that you can nicely control the Android, and then I thought it was perfect. But there's a big problem, because also the reviewers of this work will say so you say creativity is coming up from the Android, but that creativity is coming from your prompt, or is there any intrinsic creativity that also this Android can generate, right? So that I was wondering, and then what about tell him, do whatever you want to do, right? That's huge degrees of freedom, because I just say, do whatever you want, right? And this is possible because the ChatGPT-4 can accept not only text or prompt, but also images that you can put into to prompt, right? So I told him, do whatever you want, right? By just because he has a camera in his eyes, right? So he always see what is in the room, right? So that's what we did. So the prompt is you task it to describe action you want to take when you see the images, and then this one goes to. I think it's quite difficult to see, but anyway. Sorry. Okay. Well, of course, it's difficult to understand, but the very important thing is that we didn't say you have to do this or that, or there's something that you have to do, right? Because he decides what to do by himself, everything, right? From the scenery that he sees in front of him, and what he says. So I asked him, what did you do, and what's going on? And he said, feeling slightly overwhelmed by the cluttered space, I began organizing the cables and equipment with a purposeful movement, aiming to bring some order to this busy, right? That's what he said. Because this room, the room that I did was so messy, bunch of cables and computers and cups. That his understanding is that that room was so messy, right? And he wants to clean up. So I think it's the first time that he, by himself, organized his own motivation to do something, and then that his decision was to clean up the room, right? So that's the reason that I applied to this, because one of the take-home message from here is that in generating autonomous behavior, it is essential to assess it, or maybe to attribute value to the inputs that the Android can receive from its environment. So for this one is that the room is messy with cables, and I should clean it up, right? So that's the kind of action that Ota took when he saw the room, right? But we believe that this process of valuing its environment pertaining to the matter of Qualia. So very important thing is usually the object that exists in front of you, it has a neutral meaning. There's no strong meaning to you, right? So that Ota must have some meaning or value to it. So attributing value to each object, not only the object, but each, the relationship between object and object is necessary for the Ota to start his own action, right? So that's something that I'm very interested in. And then I think that's, as I wrote here, the pertaining to the matter of Qualia. So in order to make Ota much closer to living systems, what we will have to understand is the Qualia attributing system is self-organizing from the LLM. So that's my talk, and then that's what I want to do in this Kakeki. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks so much for your talk. Okay, you have 3 more minutes, but is it fine to finish your talk?
I'm fine, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, if you have any question, you can ask Ikegami-san. So please raise your hand or.
Yeah, maybe then I'll start.
Okay.
Yeah, so thanks, Ikegami-san. Maybe because the first part of the talk was without your animation, it might have been a bit difficult for the audience to get it. But so the idea is you connected GPT-4 as an input to this altar, right?
Uh-huh.
And then the GPT-4 output is used
Well,
to, yeah.
So this is a prompt. So in more precise way, I can explain is that we have to prepare 2 prompts. The first prompt is what kind of action that we want to see from Ota, right? So for example, like a pretend the ghost, or drink a coffee, or see the window, all this kind of stuff, right? Then the first prompt is okay, to rephrase the prompt that I gave in more than 10 sentences with emotionally exaggerated expressions. So that's he does, right? Then this output from this prompt one goes to the next prompt. So the next prompt is already learned. The first. So the next prompt import. Okay. The first axis is to raise your hand, and then value to the first axis 255 is like a raised hand very highly, and then next one is like your elbow, right? So that you can close or open up elbow and all this kind of stuff. So 43 imported sentences are prepared in the prompt too. Then using this one, that author can, the prompt can generate from the text to Python code. The Python code is just the numbers, the list of numbers, and then it's sent it to author so that the author can generate the behavior, which prompt 1 and 2 try to generate. So in short, what I do is give the sentence, then prompt 1 exaggerate the sentences and generate all the diversity of the sentences, and then it's translated into the movement by just assigning numbers to it.
I see.
So that's what we do.
I see. Then probably the next critical kind of question for the Qualia is that do you think it's possible to inquire or give some kind of evidence that they are experiencing something internally, or is this just like a exact kind of Chalmers zombie, which does just input output without having anything inside?
Well, so my idea is avoiding this kind of discussion that attributing value, and then if author self-organizingly motivating the behavior, then I want to call it Qualia or consciousness. So this is the third way to understand how to understand the Qualia, not just thinking whether there's a consciousness that that exists or not.
I see.
Because very big problem for me for the artificial life is that to self-organizingly motivate what to do by himself, right? So you always have to program everything from the beginning, even though you cannot. The system cannot spontaneously can generate his own behavior. But this one is by just seeing the scenery or something, then he decides where to pay attention to it, and then he decides what to do with this given input, which is not given from ourselves, but it's given from the GPT's the entire database, I think, right? So the entire database is already the Qualia and human behavior, human culture, and all this atmosphere was embedded in this database. Therefore, the ChatGPT can provide author how to attribute value to each object, each scenery, each the relationship. So I think this discovery is quite important for the future of having autonomous robot, I think. Or you can say conscious robot. Yeah.
I see. Is there any comments, question? Yeah.
Hi. First of all, nice talk. My question is, what is your idea to model the mathematical model or the valuing that attributes value? What kind of idea do you have?
So the current my idea is that this is the images of the scenery, and then his interpretation of the scenery, and the action that he took on the scenery, right? So there is a mapping from the text to the images to the text to action. And then, but this mapping is very, very non-trivial from the beginning, right? So the author decides how to map from one to the other. So understanding the complexity of this mapping is one of the first steps to understand and then quantifying the Qualia that I'm designing.
Generally, is the complexity high means value high or inverse?
Well, complexity means that well, the complexity that I'm using now is very indirect. When I see to the river, sometimes that people try to jumping into the river, but also you can make a pancake, right? So what's the difference between the pancake and jumping into the water?
Okay.
Therefore, that is something that the complexity of the Qualia that is circulating in the brain, right? But so in case of Walter, that his personal memory and his big database is interacting with each other to generate what kind of Qualia should be activated there, and that's what I want to call attribution of value to the scenery, and then producing action against that scenery.
It is my intuition that to understand the Qualia, it is important to consider some complexity as a diversity of the next action. For example, here there is state of environment and me.
Okay.
Then becomes there is many possible
Right.
process. So this kind of diversity should be very important to evaluate something. And I think that this to model this kind of diversity and some kind of complexity or value, it is quite for me it is quite natural to connect this structure with.
I 100% agree with you. So the interesting point with ChatGPT is that they have a temperature parameter, right? So that the GPT-4 is not the deterministic system. So if I repeat the same experiment 100 times, then 100 different outcome will be expected, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the one of the interesting point is that we can change the temperature from 1 to 0. 0 means the deterministic, and then 1 is very stochastic, right?
Okay.
So what is this temperature means, and then so we usually use temperature equals to 0.7 or 0.6, and that's what we think it's a very sort of reasonable and then a normal sentences that they can create. But then if we fix the parameter to 0.6, and then what sort of diversity of action is expected? That's something that I can measure this diversity, and then I think it's Qualia is pretty much related to this diversity. I think.
Thank you. Very interesting.
That's also, I'll just jump in a bit. It's pretty related to the concept also discussed in IIT, Integrated Information Theory. But and also the diversity of the future potential action is related to their higher value of the integrated information. However, one of the completely opposite prediction is that the IIT in general predicts that the more system becomes deterministic, the integrated information becomes higher. But Ikegami-san, you said that it's the opposite, right?
Well, what I learned from phenomenology, especially Francisco Barrera and then other people, is that it's a bottomless of the world. Environment is essentially bottomless, right? So it's huge numbers of uncertainty that exist in the environment, and the system is getting those inputs from outside, even though it's uncertain. But this input is very important because with the uncertainty that robots can accept from the environment, then generate his own action. So there is no such thing deterministic system exists in the world. The world is tons of uncertainty, but even though we can do some meaningful behavior and attributing the value to it, that's I think is one of the mystery that we have to think about. And then Qualia is the only way to describe all these relationship between uncertainty and a kind of diversity that the action is generated in the future. Yeah. So it's my own main kind of interest why the system can survive in this uncertainty, and then how to use it to attribute value to the system and then making like a meaningful behavior.
My opinion is that the determinist determinism and causality should be separated. It's different program. And I think the IIT should be reformalized into the causality kind of, not deterministic. Because here, I mean the causality as without a NOP kind of relationship, and which is the core of also the core of IIT. Sorry for the.
Well, I think that's I've never seen that, but my idea is that I don't know whether the code exists in the world, right? The behavior is sometimes it's correlated with environmental, and sometimes it's caused by something. So it's a cause and correlation is sort of mixed up together. That's something that I really want to understand from society.
I agree, 100%. It is some kind of the factorization of the cycle, which is here and here. So of course. But in the course modeling, we have some very good structure of causality, not deterministic.
Maybe, yeah, that's true.
Sorry, can I ask a very stupid question? Well, the process to attribute, evaluate something, it can be said the process of sense making, right? So, yes. Takashi, do you mean sense making is the Qualia? Is that what you said? I really like really?
Yes.
Really? I see. I really like the notion of sense making, and my study of synesthesia is highly related with sense making, but I never thought about sense making is the Qualia itself. But so this may be a really stupid question, but do you think, for instance, amoeba can always make sense, doing sense making, like, searching the environment and looking for sugar, for instance, their food. So for the amoebas, the food is, sugar is the food of them. So they already make sense making. I mean, they create meaning. Do you understand what I mean? So,
yeah, of course.
Do you think
that's what it's also related to. It's related to Saigo-san that, because the future is determined uniquely, there are a bunch of different connections, right? Therefore, sense making is important. And then sense making is a paraphrasing of why the system can be motivated to select this action, not the other one, right? So it's a very micro Darwinian kind of selection is going on there because of this uncertainty in the future, right? And then, sometimes we call it sense making, and sometimes we call it Qualia. So that's my idea, but I'm not sure whether that's it's plausible arguments or not. So that's what I want to discuss with the people here.
I see.
はい、お願いします。もしもあります。So if there are any other questions, please.
No, go ahead.
Hi, I have a question. What is your meaning of qualia in this context?
So the qualia is that the value that is attributed to the object. So usually there's only the physical object. It's an objective something that exists in your eyes, in front of you, right? But once if the living system emerges, then they try to attribute meaning to each object or value to each object. That's what I want to say, Qualia.
I see. Okay.
I have a question. Yeah, so earlier you showed, or you talked about how you provide this, you provide visual input to the robot, or to the android, right? Yeah. This messy room, and then the behavior that it sort of, you say intrinsically sort of generates is that it wants to clean up the room, right? So I was wondering if you have shown, like, first of all, the background of this question is like, kind of, if you show a person a messy room and then ask what they want to do they actually say they want to clean up, or something like that? Surely, like
Well,
I
actually,
imagine,
well, that's a very good question. But I didn't want to discuss this because it is related to AI safety. Because when I was discussing with my students, right, and then this Android said, "Hey, let me discuss with you guys," right? That's what he said, and he tried to come closer to us, right? So he's doing this to come closer to this, but he doesn't have foot, so he cannot walk, so he cannot come closer to us. But the first time that I was a bit scary because if he can move, probably he come close to us and then he tried to discuss with me, right? But he has such a gigantic body and then doing this, so that's what he did. So once he saw us, sitting in front of him, he wants to discuss with us. He wants to come with us, right? That's what he said.
I see. That's really interesting. And also, like, have you like shown different or like put it in different environments, like say a
Oh yeah,
clean room?
We are doing a lot. So of course it depends on the screen that he does something different. Yes,
I see.
Pretty much sensitive. Yeah.
Right.
And then also interesting thing is that where he is paying attention to is depending on what he learned or all this kind of stuff. So yeah, thanks.
Maybe I'll just also ask the last short but possibly complicated question. So in the embodiment kind of theory, probably that's you also subscribe. The actual movement and also feedback from the environment is probably important, right? But in your robot, it actually demonstrated the value and also intention to clean up without having a prior history of the movement and also possibility even to actually doing the cleaning. So that's, I think, a very interesting counterexample to this embodiment theory. No.
Well, actually, when we say embodiment of inactive processes is happening after that because each scenery. Actually we make a static images and then put into the GPT-4 because right now we cannot put the movie directly, right? So when you see the messy room and why he was doing this was he was trying to clean up, right? So if I put some put the desk in front of him and then he could actually he could clean the room, right? Then the scenery becomes different. So that one is also put into his prompt, right? Then he would think that okay, the room got cleaned up, right? I don't know whether he will think that it's by himself or not, but then he will change the behavior. So this is closed loop, right? From the environment to his body to the environment to the body. So action changes the input. And that input is coming to his body and then changes the way that he attributing the value to it, right? So the Qualia and then also the structure is updating every time he makes action. So this sequences of action is what we call, an active way of understanding the world or situated in the environment. So situatedness is always associated with the temporal structures, I think. That's something that I'm interested in. But I think that question is very important, and that's something that we are doing now.
Great.
So can we finish and go to the next speaker, right? So yeah, Ikegami-san, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks so much for the discussion. Thank you.
Okay, so next speaker is Matsuda-san. So Matsuda-san, you have 15 minutes for talk, and I will let you know around 12 minutes using the chat now. Okay, so go ahead, please.
Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yeah, I can see you. Okay, please.
Hi, I'm Eiko Matsuda from Waseda University, and the title of my project is Sound Color Synesthesia with a focus on the sense of presence, implementation of VR, and theoretical explanation for sharing possibilities. So I'm really happy to join this project, but I'm kind of very nervous. First of all, let me introduce what is synesthesia. This is the the theme of this project. Synesthesia is a phenomenon where sensory stimulus automatically triggers a different kind of experience than the original one. For example, seeing letters might evoke the sensation of color, or hearing sound might also produce produce colors. Synesthesia is not limited to such one-to-one correspondence, but complex sensations includes, for instance, the number 3 might be perceived as blue, male, and he only thinks of himself. Or the sound of flute might be described as dry and transparent with pastel colors. Synesthetic sensations are highly idiosyncratic, showing that you and I can experience distinctly different qualia even when looking at the same object. One of the challenges in synesthesia research is the difficulty of understanding what it is like to be a synesthete. I have synesthesia, and my supervisor, Takashi, said he doesn't see the difference from saying, I can see fairies. Therefore, Takashi thinks synesthesia is just imagination, but synesthesia is quite different from those only imaginations. So therefore, the goal of this research is to develop a VR synesthesia system to share synesthetic experience or sharing qualia of synesthesia. Regarding grapheme color synesthesia, which is the most popular type of synesthesia, strong associations between graphemes and colors similar to synesthesia can be acquired through intensive training. However, this training is quite intensive, involving reading colored text for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 9 weeks. This is really intensive, but in this research, we aim to create a system that allows to naturally experience synesthesia without such intensive training. Yes. To achieve this, synesthesia, I think, must be considered not as a special phenomenon that occurs in only 1% of the population, but as something continuous with general cognitive phenomena. For this purpose, I focused on the notion of perceptual presence. Perceptual presence is the phenomenological property in which perceptual content is experienced continuously with the real world. It's like, something is really here. It really exists in front of you. For example, consider a tomato drawn in a picture and an actual tomato. Even if the visual input is the same, the picture tomato lacks perceptual presence. This difference arises because the real tomato in front of you include many counterfactual possibilities, such as touching it and rotating it to see the back. So it is said that the degree of perceptual presence is determined by counterfactual richness. It is hard to imagine synesthetic tomato, but if you consider synesthesia is something having an additional experience to normal perception, synesthesia may be located here. Synesthesia gives extra counterfactual possibilities and therefore might be thought to give a stronger perceptual presence. I don't know, but in summary, this project have 2 hypotheses, and as the first hypothesis, I will demonstrate that the perception unique to synesthesia increases perceptual presence, and as the second hypothesis, synesthesia can be experienced by manipulating the sense of presence. There are various types of synesthesia. 今何分ぐらい話しました？まだ大丈夫か。
7分ぐらい。
すいません。あれ、なんでこれ23分ってなってて、なんかびっくりしたんです。わかりました。じゃあ、あと8分ですね。はい。すいません。There are various types of synesthesia, but in this study, I will focus on sound color synesthesia. Well, sound color synesthesia involves sound and vision so that it is highly compatible with VR. So this is the self-report of sound color synesthesia, in which she described that fluid as dry, transparent with pastel colors, and harmonica. The sound of harmonica is dry, shiny, and strong ribbons. Well, sound synesthesia is really complex and really difficult to understand. Those sensations include color, texture, and so on, like ribbons. Very complex. But sound color synesthesia appears quite complex, but some irregularities have been observed. This figure shows the visual images of 3 different musical pitches of violin, while lower pitches are larger, lower pitches in the bottom of this figure. The bottom figure shows the lower pitches, and the upper figure shows the higher pitches. So this figure suggests lower pitches are related with larger, lower, and darker objects, and higher pitches related with smaller, higher, and brighter objects. In fact, when looking at the average responses among synesthetes, as the frequency of sound increases, like this is the synesthetic concurrent, synesthetic sensations become smaller, brighter, and higher. However, similar tendencies are observable in general cross-modal correspondences. Even though people may not have solid imageries, they tend to associate higher pitch with smaller, higher, and brighter objects, and lower pitch with bigger, larger, lower, and darker objects. Well, this suggests that synesthesia may not be unusual, but could be a natural representation of music perception. If that's the case, the synesthetic associations could be naturally understandable, and implementing these associations could enhance the sense of presence within VR. In video games, sound and visual correspondences are often used. It could be related with synesthesia, not only general cross-modal correspondences. Still, it is obvious that synesthesia is distinctive from normal general cross-modal correspondences, as demonstrated by some neuroscientific studies. For instance, studies suggest that higher order areas like left inferior parietal cortex are involved in sound color synesthesia. So, first of all, we have to investigate the structure of sound color synesthesia, as research on it is highly limited. So far, to measure sound color synesthesia, methods such as drawing pictures, selecting one color for a single sound. ちょっと待って。なんだろう。チャットが来た。あと3分しかないって言われちゃった。ごめんなさい。and semi-structured interviews have been employed. These approaches have their pro and con. Oversimplification fails in capturing complexity, but attempt to capture complexity makes it unquantifiable. As a result, the structure of sound color synesthesia remains to be studied. I found Unity's particle effects allows to easily mimic synesthesia. This is the synesthesia I feel for this sound, which is actually reproduced by Unity. To quantify sound color synesthesia and reveal its structure, we will develop an interface by using Unity's system. So to summarize, for the first hypothesis, synesthetic perception increase the perceptual presence. I will first analyze the structure of sound color synesthesia by creating interface for several synesthetes. And second, I will test that when sound stimuli and visual effects synesthetically matches, the sense of presence increases. The sense of presence can be measured by test for sense of presence as well as measuring heartbeat or something. As for hypothesis 2, by manipulating the sense of presence, synesthesia can be experienced. To test this, experiments will be conducted to manipulate the perceptual presence. In the context of VR, the perceptual presence is referred to as sense of presence or immersiveness, and various studies aim to enhance these aspects. For instance, it is said that higher sense of presence can be created by higher frame rate, surrounded sound, and cross-modal synchronization. To summarize the second hypothesis, I will first conduct a training period in which color and sound are presented on the transformation of the sense of presence by changing the sound frame rate or something. Next, in the test period, I will test whether synesthesia can be acquired by a general population. To measure synesthesia, there are two ways. One is to measure temporal consistency, and the other is to measure automaticity. Through this project, I expect that complex synesthetic experiences are precisely expressed through the newly developed interface, which may lead others to realize what it is like to be a synesthete. Next, the aspect of synesthesia that can and cannot be shared become clear. And finally, I believe this research contributes to sharing phenomenological aspects of experiences or Qualia. So that's it for my presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm sorry to rush you up, but you have one more minute. So if you have
1 more minute?
1 more minute, yeah. If you can add something.
Sorry, Takashi. I used your picture here.
Okay, so can we go to the questions? Yeah, okay. So if you have any question, please.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, of course.
Can you say it again? What's the relationship between a sense of presence and why the sense of presence is related to feeling the qualia?
Well, sense of presence is higher sense of presence is the degree of sense of presence is determined by the quantity of counterfactual element. Like, for instance, the picture of tomato have no, you cannot, even though if you actually make action, but actual tomato have bunch of counterfactual possibilities. For instance, you can reach and grab it and rotate it to see the back. So actual tomato have bunch of possibilities of counterfactual possibilities. But on the other hand, picture of tomato do not have such counterfactual richness.
That I understand. Yeah.
Yes. That's my weak point of my argument, but this is very important. But I think synesthesia is to add.
Yeah, but my question is why you think in this way? Why you think synesthesia is adding more, a sense of presence?
Counterfactualness. Don't you think so? Because by adding some more information like color or personality, texture, you can imagine the counterfactualness. You can, yeah, feel, don't know? You don't think so? Don't you think so?
By the way, so I cannot experience the synesthesia, so I
Yes,
cannot.
that's the point. So that's the point.
Oh,
Well, I
so-
think so. Well,
No. Okay,
especially-
I understand. So your hypothesis is using VR, and then if you can emphasize the sense of presence, then you think is quite close to the experience of synesthesia. Is that what you're saying?
yeah. I think synesthesia is highly related with sense of presence. Don't you think so?
Yeah, so that I want to know why you saw it in that way. That's my question. That was my
Well, but if you think naturally, synesthesia is an addition of extra sensation, extra,
oh, I see. So,
sensory motor contingency. You can, by having synesthesia, you can have more, well, you can have more possibilities of movement. So
Maybe,
might-
Matsuda-san, I think what Ikegami-san is asking is that among all the other possibilities of explaining synesthesia, why do you think this presence, perceptual presence is particularly powerful to explain, synesthesia? Among many, possibilities, right?
Among many possibilities, like
brain,
For instance?
areas are just, connected, between the areas of the, color versus object or something like that. I don't know. This is not outside of my area, but
I see. Well,
maybe we can
Well-
discuss it later.
yeah. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, but I also have. Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't. Maybe I don't understand your question. But well, by focusing on perceptual presence, well,
So you said put more information from the environment that increases the sense of presence, right? That's what you're saying. More
yes.
information.
The reason I'm focusing on perceptual presence is came from Anil's paper that is printed in 2015 that is referred here. He argued about the difference in presence of several neuroneurological phenomena like lucid dream, synesthesia, and etc. Like real object and pictures, object of pictures, and synesthesia is very distinctive phenomena that sensation of synesthesia is very special because synesthete understand that sensation exist here, but at the same time they understand this is not exist. So synesthesia is the sensation that lacks perceptual presence. No. So that's why that's why this phenomena is related with something about sense of presence. And actually, the sense of presence have 4 types of it, like perceptual presence and doxastic presence or something like that. And we can argue more, but
Yeah, let's discuss later, okay?
I'm agree.
I take it. So,
Yeah. But by focusing on perceptual presence, I can I would like to locate synesthesia, the possessed by very specific limited people, like 1% of population. But I would like to locate synesthesia in the huge context of connect with other neurological phenomena like deja vu, lucid dream, hallucination, or something. So that's why I think by focusing on perceptual process. I think synesthesia can be related with others. Sorry. ありがとうございます。 Sorry, completely messy.
So let's go to the next question. So now Zurabo, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much for your fascinating talk, and I really enjoyed it.
ありがとう。
I have a question regarding your experiment design. Can you go to the part where you are showing a stimulus of the pinkish? Oh, so it's actually Kirby. I was guessing it's Kirby. Okay, yes. Before that, when they're wearing, okay, so something like that. Okay, from my knowledge, people who has synesthesia, sound color synesthesia, each person have their own different mapping of what sound is matched with what color. So when you're trying to simulate that or triggering that in people without synesthesia, how do you choose the color and the sound mapping? Do you choose them randomly or?
Well, yes. So, well, I think, well, yes, each synesthete have pale different, well, synesthesia, right? But I think there must be some structures shared by many synesthetes. I don't know, but size, brightness, and height can be related. Can be shared by a lot of synesthetes. And color itself can be, well, there must be some regularities. For instance, well, I don't know, but the color of flute cannot be orange. I don't know. But well, so that's what I have to, investigate. It is not, so the research on it is highly limited. So first of all, I have to, I think I have to investigate the relationship between color and sound. But yeah, so and based on the structure that are found by the unitary system, I would like to implement the. Sorry. I would like to implement the combination between congruent and inducer, color and sound that is synesthetically matched, and to test. Yeah, thank you. But yes, do you understand?
Yes, I understand. But I do suggest to keep the color more random to match with the sounds. But then, I know that the brightness, size, these aspects are known to be more structured. Then you can control for those instead. Because orange can be associated with flute, right? Because they're both like very sharp.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
Especially Western flute. Okay. Yep, I'm done. Next question. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Nishio-san.
So, Nishio-san, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Nice talk. I want to ask you that some population of synesthetic person does not believe the synesthetic experience, but some other population, non-synesthetic person can easily to believe the synesthetic experience, synesthetic person. There is some gradual or diverse or property, and what does it depend on? And your study will close to approach to that question. Yeah. that's what I would like to study. But well, yes, synesthesia. Well, actually, sound color synesthesia. For about it, the study is really limited. But for the grapheme color synesthesia, people feel the degree of synesthesia is kind of spectrum. Well, synesthesia is only 1% of population, but there are some people who feel very weak association of color and sound. So I think this could happen for, sound color synesthesia too. But I don't think there are some studies about it. So yeah, so that's where I would like to study on it also. But and the difference between synesthete, people who have synesthesia and who do not, can be very complex, like personality traits and some genetic trait, and also a neurological trait. Both three can be related. Like, for instance, people who are open to new experiences are more synesthetic. Well, no. Synesthesia people tend to be more open to new experiences. That's the personality trait, and also genetic trait is genetic trait exists, and also neuronal trait. Inside the brain of synesthete, there are some structural differences. So yeah, so ありがとうございます。So there are several, yeah, ありがとうございます。Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay. So next question.
Okay.
Now Robert. Yeah, go on.
Shall I go ahead? Oh, yeah. Thank you for your talk. And I also have a question about your experiment design. So in your test phase, maybe I missed that part, but can you explain again how you can ensure that such a trained synesthesia is exactly the same as the synesthesia that people naturally have, or that kind of checking comparison?
Yeah. I think thank you for the question. I couldn't explain very well, but test for synesthesia is there are three. One is to test temporal consistency. So those two, temporal consistency and automaticity, is normally used to measure synesthesia. If you have strong binding between color and sound, you can reproduce the combination very consistently, even if you have 1 month or 1 year intervals. But if you answer randomly, if you combine those sound and color randomly, you cannot reproduce again. So by measuring temporal consistency of the association is one of the measurement. One is one of the methods to measure synesthesia, and the other is to measure synesthesia is to compute automaticity. If you feel color, synesthetic color with the sound, you feel and when you present color, color displayed here, and sound and color are displayed at the same time, but the color is different from your synesthetic color. So this is the condition of incongruent. And if you ask to answer the color displayed, like in this case, this is the pink, but if you synesthetically feel the sound of color is blue. So there is incongruency, and then your reaction time will be slower. And that's the other method to measure synesthesia. If you feel strong association between sound and color, the reaction time can be a good measurement. And I'm sorry. And the third method is really important, but to check the phenomenological aspect by using semi-structured interview. I didn't present here about the semi-structured interview, but I actually, I'm not a phenomenologist, but I would like, the previous study of training synesthesia about brown film color synesthesia is doing the such phenomenological analysis.
Okay, thank you for answering.
Did I?
Yeah. So
That's it. We need to move on.
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Can we move on to the next?
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you.
Okay, Matsuda-san, thanks so much.
ありがとう。
Okay, so the final speaker is Atsumi-san.
Yes.
So, yeah, are you ready?
Yeah.
Matsuda-san, then Jun has a question.
Follow up.
He wanted to ask.
Follow up your answer. So, your first method is mainly relies on self-report, right?
Yeah.
So, so I'm wondering if the methods can be confounded with conditioned reflection, that participants learn some kind of association, but without actually experiencing synesthesia.
Maybe then Matsuda-san, one word answer. Very short answer. Can you give a short
Very
answer?
quickly.
ごめん、わかんなかった質問の意味が。
Okay,
I'm
maybe
sorry.
later.
Could you say it again?
Yeah, he's gonna send an email to you.
I'm sorry, please.
Yeah.
ありがとう。
Right on. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Atsumi-san, we can see your slide, so please go ahead.
Okay. Can you see my presentation slides?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. So I'm Takeshi Atsumi from Keio University, and I'm glad to join this exciting project, and I'm also glad to show our findings and research plan before April 2nd, World Autism Awareness Day. So let's start. So individuals with SD often show sensory problems such as sensory hyper and sensory hyporeactivity in daily life. So I and our research team is studying about the mechanism of sensory experiences, unique sensory experiences in autism spectrum disorder, SD. So, for example, people with SD in auditory domain, they sometimes show overreactivity to an ordinary tool, such as vacuum car, vacuum cleaner. On the other hand, the same person may have difficulty to realize that someone is calling the name. Sometimes people with SD can easily detect the flickering light and avoid to see it. I believe that elucidating the mechanism of unique sensory experiences may not only point to solving their problems, but also to understand how our brain generates unique qualia, such that the same stimulus is sometimes perceived as pleasant, but sometimes as unpleasant. So far, our research team has been investigating the neural mechanism of sensory hyperreactivity in ESD using psychophysics. A previous study showed that individuals with SD who have higher temporal resolution have increased sensory hyperreactivity. In this study, the researchers used the sensory profile, which is commonly used in clinical situations, as an index of temporal resolution. They used the tactile temporal order judgment task. They also examined the detection threshold of the vibrotactile stimulus, but this did not correlate with sensory hyperreactivity. During this study, we met an individual with SD who had extremely high resolution of the TOJ. That patient showed an almost 10-fold difference in temporal resolution compared to control participants. And this patient also suffered from sensory hyperreactivity. So therefore, we performed an fMRI experiment to elucidate the neural correlate of the high temporal resolution during TOJ in this SD patient. We then used this special tactile stimulator and analyzed TOJ-related brain regions based on previous literature. The SD patient showed greater board signal changes in left hemisphere, especially in the ventral premotor cortex, compared to 22 control participants. But so what is the neurophysiological basis of such increased behavior performance and neural activation? One possible explanation for the etiology of autism is the neural excitation inhibition EI imbalance hypothesis, which was firstly proposed almost 20 years ago. So literatures often reported that the people with SD often show altered GABAergic signaling. So there might be an association between an imbalance of EI neural activity and sensory hyperreactivity. So we performed MR spectroscopy and in vivo measurements of GABA concentration for some regions, including the left ventral premotor cortex. We then found that individuals with SD who show lower GABA concentration exhibited increased sensory hyperreactivity scores. A similar study also elicited that the thermic GABA concentration is negatively correlated with increased sensory overresponsivity. These brain regions are known to be involved in multisensory and temporal information processing. I also examined the effect of GABAergic dysfunction on the temporal order judgment task resolution by using wild-type mice. I trained the animal to solve the temporal order judgment of two ear paths, successfully delivering to the left and the right whiskers. Intrapenetorial administration of GABA A antagonist improved the temporal resolution, seen like here. So this suggests that GABAergic dysfunction may induce the heightened temporal resolution of the tactile TOJ task at least. So reduced GABAergic signaling may relate to both sensory hyperreactivity and heightened stimulus temporal resolution in autism. but reduced inhibitory neural function would worsen signal-to-noise ratio, thus inducing reduced sensory signal accuracy. So this is controversial to the previous findings. So it is not. It is unknown how individuals with ASD achieve greater sensory processing accuracy in this kind of low signal-to-noise environment. So we hypothesize that there may be a mechanism that amplifies sensory signals even when they are behaviorally irrelevant to the individual. And perceiving these stimulus as, for example, strong or unpleasant may be related to everyday sensory experiences in autistic people. We predicted that the reduced inhibitory neural function in multisensory and temporal regions such as ventral premotor cortex may be involved in the enhancement of sensory signals. Ventral premotor cortex is known to be involved in the control of signal-to-noise ratio based on strong top-down prediction. Unpredicted task-irrelevant noise stimuli may be detected by insular cortex and activated synchronously with ventral premotor cortex. So I speculate that the signals may be emotionally labeled as unpleasant because of these associations. So in this study, I will test this hypothesis using multiple approaches, including psychophysics, neuroimaging, spectroscopy, TMS, and knockout mouse. In the first experiment, we will examine the background noise effect on the temporal processing task in SD and typically developed participants, TD participants. We use the visual and tactile version of the TOJ in which participants must respond to the second stimulated side of two successive stimuli in the different receptive field. It is expected that the higher background noise, the lower resolution, and that participants with SD who have increased sensory hyperreactivity may show weaker effect of noise. Secondly, based on the result of psychophysics, we will investigate the brain regions correlate with the noise effect using fMRI and the relationship between GABA concentration in the region and the noise effect. It is predicted that the noise effect in the visual and tactile TOJ is positively correlated with the GABA concentration in the ventral premotor cortex. We also predict that strong functional connectivity between ventral premotor cortex and insular cortex and a high noise condition. We will attempt to reproduce the expected characteristics of individuals with SD by using TMS technique. We have an TMS2 QPS, which can induce relatively long-term neural plasticity. So we will test whether the activation of the target brain region in typically developed participants by QPS reduces the noise effect on temporal processing. The experiments explained so far, there is a lack of analysis of the qualitative aspects of the feeling of unpleasantness with a specific stimuli. So we will employ a new analysis that can analyze the degree to which sensory stimuli are perceived as unpleasant, applicable to both mice and humans. Here, by using sensory stimulation as correct and incorrect feedback for discrimination learning, we can measure each subject's discomfort with sensory stimulation based on the reinforced effect of the feedback stimulus for learning. In our laboratory, several autism-related gene mutation model mice are bred, such as SHANK3, very famous autism-related gene, and syntaxin 1A and CAPS2, all the genes associated with neurotransmission. So based on the behavior result of this test, electrophysiological recording and pharmacological experiment in these mice targeting insular and premotor cortex will be performed to examine the association with the effect of feedback stimuli. And in human participant, we examine the effect of QPS application to the ventral premotor cortex on the feedback stimulus effect. So in this study, we will explore the mechanism of unique sensory experiences in SD through a series of experiments from the macro scale to the micro scale, from these involved in SD, patients with SD, to model animals. So finally, I would like to announce our symposium, which will be held on April 6th. This is a Japanese symposium, but everyone can watch online. So please join our symposium. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think thanks so much. You are interesting talk. So, do you guys have any question? Okay, I'll go first. So Atsumi-san, thanks so much. You are interesting research project. But my basic question is, not all ASD patients have the hypersensitivity, right? So why some of the ASD patients have hypersensitivity but others do not? So do you have any explanation for this?
So this is very important point. My answer is the population of autistic people has how to say the very broad range of individual differences.
Yeah.
And so this data showing the temporal resolution performance from autistic people, but someone has very high sensitivity to temporal difference, but someone has very low temporal resolution.
Right.
And we also found that someone has very low GABAergic signaling, but someone has high GABA concentration. And we compared the region-specific difference of GABA concentration. And in our study, in this literature, we found only one region, supplementary motor area, showed the reduced GABAergic signaling, but the other area, including premotor cortex, V1 sensory motor cortex, did not show the difference. So we think there, how to say, the variation of the GABA concentration in one brain. I think the reduced GABAergic signaling in a higher order or insular cortex may relate to the heightened sensory hyperreactivity or sensory processing precision. So, firstly, we want to test this hypothesis, and we also want to analyze the people who does not have sensory hyperreactivity and GABA signaling.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much for. It's just Nakai-san.
But yeah, if Nakai-san has some question, maybe you can go first. Anyone can raise the hand if you have any question first.
Atsumi-san, so for very interesting talk, and I have a very technical question about the MRI spectroscopy on insular cortex. I think my question is about that. How would you only detect the signals from that certain area, because insular cortex is folded in a very big sulcus, and I think the MRI spectroscopy has a resolution about 20 millimeters cube, I think.
Yes.
And then in that case, that may also include the signals from inferior frontal cortex or superior temporal gyrus, and have very noisy itself. And my question is, how do you think to determine or the target voxel in specifically in the insular cortex?
So, of course, we will measure the GABA concentration, and we also perform the functional MRI analysis. So we want to, integrate the data from of both data. So mainly, I will target premotor cortex, which has very large region. And so, as you said, it is very difficult to target insular cortex itself. But by using the data of GABA concentration in ventral premotor cortex and board signal during fMRI task, and then by using, I want to involve the GABA concentration data of ventral premotor cortex involving to the model of network analysis, and we will analyze by considering both GABA concentration and the broad signal change to the noise effect during TOJ. Is that make sense?
Yeah, thank you very much.
And but I'm not sure whether the ventral premotor cortex's GABA concentration actually explain the the neural activation during the task. If so, we can use the overlap analysis targeting insular cortex to focusing on the specific region. In that case, we should measure the insular cortex twice or more, slightly moving the voxel of interest. So
You mean that first you will perform functional MRI for each individual and then determine that target box for that individual for the MRI spectroscopy?
We will perform both MRI's measurement and functional MRI at once. So, but if I will perform the second MR spectroscopy, maybe we should change. We should perform the analysis another day because people with SD can't, how to say, be patient much longer MR analysis. So this is very, how to say, difficult point. So please give us idea if you have.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Can I? Okay. So thank you for your interesting data and ideas. And so because this is a Qualia structure, I also wanted to kind of push you to think about the sort of Qualia structure of the autistic person. And I think Moriguchi-san's point is valid that maybe there is a huge heterogeneity within or in the individual variants within the autistic people. But your finding of one person of this 10 times more sensitive TOJ threshold person, that's really phenomenal. And also really I'm interested in what his experience is like. So I think, and we are, as a part of the project of this entire group, we are developing a lot of tools and tasks involving Moriguchi-san here and also Asano-san here for the synesthesia and also sound and the shape and things like that, where we can possibly test and measure the similarity structure, for example, of some kind of modality within one person very reliably, and then also compare that with the population of the similarity structure and so on. So if your patient or friend, I don't know, is very cooperative to this, and also if you have also manpower to do this kind of psychophysics experiment, maybe that's the kind of the great collaboration we can talk about afterwards.
Yeah.
I understand your main interest is more to the brain, but I'm more interested in the phenomenology of this person.
So, as you said, there is a big heterogeneity in autistic population, and we expect that a kind of neurophysiological states may induce the heightened sensory hyperreactivity and great temporal processing precision. And so I guess the kind of population tend to have the kind of very large heterogeneity. And we also have to reproduce the, how to say, similar neurophysiological states, QPS. So if we can reproduce the behavior traits and sensory experiences, which often found in autistic people or in other population, typically developed participants, I think that I can compare the different Qualia in one person. So that person may experience his or her own sensory experience, but after simulation, maybe that person will experience unique sensory experiences, which can be measured by psychophysics or this kind of sensory assessment. I think that kind of attempt may contribute this Qualia Structure project. This is my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Is it okay?
Yeah. So Atsumi-san, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, Tsuchiya-san, can you close?
Yeah. Okay.
have any-
Thank you, everybody, especially for the three presenters, Ikegami-san and Matsuda-san, and also Atsumi-san. Yeah, and please, if there are some comments or questions, you can use a Slack, group Slack, and also maybe also individually give comments on either YouTube or maybe email. All right. We will be doing this another one again probably in 1 week by I think Keisuke and Kazuo and Tatsuya in April 4th, and so we'll see then again. Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
どうもありがとうございました。今はもう YouTube 切ったんで